Good morning. We are recording. This is Osiris. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are speaking to Mr. Ben Ford of the head chef and owner of the Ford's Filling Station here it's in Culver City, but I think it's on the border of Culver City and LA because it's listed as LA 90232, 9351. Culver Boulevard. For those of you that have never been here, it was my first time. It's beautiful, all wood interior, very swag looking interior, nice restaurants and lots of activity around. And we are with the Culver City News interviewing Ben. And what our first question is, or my first question is, what is the spiritual essence of a chef? How would you define the energy and love that you use in creating a menu? You have to emit some sort of inner subconscious thing. What happens?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone has sort of a creative inner self. Chefs definitely have one. You know, for me, my synergy, my inspirations, and sort of the things that sort of permeate me as a chef, you know, are my garden connections and my teaching abilities, my ability to be able to affect an entire community of people within my community, within my kitchen. I love that part. You might want to ask a question here because it's fairly esoteric to think about.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know, because I don't think, at least my perception is that a lot of people think that when you are a cook or you're a chef, that there's nothing that goes into you just using your hands and you're just preparing food.
Right.
But when I eat food, I actually honor the food that I eat. I actually pay attention to what I'm eating, and I can feel the love of the person that's prepared the food when I eat the food.
I think there's a lot of magic in cooking in general. And those are some of the things actually that interest me most about cooking are these, you know, the things that turn wine into vinegar and, you know, and make bread rise and these kind of little mysterious, mysterious things that you find in a chef's world. I think that the one thing that seems to hold true in my cooking, and the one theme that I bring to the kitchen and to my teachings, is that sometimes it's a labor of love cooking, and the efforts that you put into the food find their way to the plate in one way or another. It can be sometimes a stew is better than, you know, a freshly grilled steak, just because of the sheer time that was spent and the time that got to spend on cooking and the efforts that went into it. And I think that that's true, it holds true throughout my cooking.
Wow, I love that. Now, what led you into this particular lifestyle? Restaurant owner? How did you come up with the name Ford Filling Station? I thought it was interesting because it says Ford Filling Station, and I know back a long time ago, they used to call service stations filling stations.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm very interested in nostalgic sort of aspects of this. We are the first gastropub on the West Coast.
What does that mean, gastropub?
Well,
people like
this is a long answer. So, gastropubs came out of the UK in the early 1990s. They were Monopolies and Mergers Commission there. Began to regulate the breweries, and they were no longer to own their own pubs. And so there was a massive sell-off of thousands of pubs flooding the market. And there was also sort of proliferation of young chefs that were coming up, and they were looking for their first restaurants. And these places were cheap because they were flooding the market once again. And but they didn't want to sort of serve the same greasy food in the same old dark places. So they took a lot of liberty with the cuisine. They took a lot of liberty with decorating and cleaning it up. Some didn't exactly look like pubs anymore. Some looked a little more like a restaurant would be. Some looked exactly like they were before. But the one thing that sort of stayed there was this sort of synergy and this sort of community, the center of the community. You know, these pubs for hundreds of years have been this center, you know, this place where people go from the community. And I don't think that's lost. And the nostalgic aspect of it became very important. So for us to be able to do a gastropub here in the West Coast in a modern building in Culver City, and to translate the concept for the first time, because we were the curators of it, we really were the first people having to, or I should say, we were the pioneers with it.
That's awesome.
And it took a lot of explaining. I was coming from fine dining, and people didn't exactly understand at that time what a gastropub was, and you know, it took some knocks, you know, in the beginning doing that. But I think it was a process that I went through. It was very good for me as a chef. Yeah, back to the reason why we called it Filling Station was we needed that metaphor. We needed that thing of all the good things that fill you up in life, you know. So it's got my music that I put on the stereo.
And what's that like? What's your music taste?
You know, I call it Bohemian Rhapsody blues, kind of.
What does that mean in your world?
I don't know. I like a little bit of sort of the music that I grew up here with in Southern California. I grew up here in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Very affected by the Bakersfield sort of country sound and the jazz scene that was going on here at the time. We've got tremendous, lot of great musicians that have come through LA, and somehow that just makes it a, you know, from Solomonburg to Little Feet, you know, it's just it's a great.
So you have a very broad range, because you went from Solomonburg to Little Feet. I know who Solomonburg is.
Yes.
Great blues singer.
Yeah,
and R&B singer. Yeah, you can do that. So you have a mesh of interest, I'm seeing.
Yeah, but it comes and all works here under this sort of holistic thing, which is my restaurant. When you come in here, it's my music, it's my books, it's my pictures on the wall. I design the restaurant, I do the menus, and I think you feel that sort of synergy when you come in.
It's a very warm feeling. When I walked through the door, I felt like, oh, I can be relaxed.
It makes it a home.
Everybody felt relaxed. I didn't feel like, you know, any kind of weird vibe or anything.
Yeah.
It's great energy. Which leads me into my third question, which, do you feel that cooking can be compared to painting? And if so, in what ways does cooking, because as I can understand, I know painting, I'm a painter, and the people that I know that paint and are artists, it stems from their subconscious mind. So do you think that cooking is the same way?
Well, I have read Goethe's theory of color.
What is that?
I have read Goethe's theory of color,
yes.
So I did grow up painting.
Oh.
But, you know, it's not, I would say that I went to a Waldorf school, so we did painting. Yeah, I would say it's very similar. I use a lot of metaphors for what I do associated with painting. Same thing as I use a lot of ones that associate with musicians and music for some reason or another. But yeah, I think when you have certain flavor combinations, certain little, it's like mixing your own paint. It may be a particular color you can't find, but you gravitate towards it. And I call that even my paints, actually. When I have my little pickled fennel next to my little confit shallots, next to my remoulade, next to whatever, they're all little paints that I can pick and choose from. And that allows me to sort of, the alchemist in me to kind of come out and create. You know, that's kind of a big way in how I cook.
I love that. I felt that for some reason, because it seems so designed,
yeah.
And so everything seems so blended with the color theme and the whole theme. Which let's talk about. Do you feel that food, the art of cooking, eating, conversation, can create an open and honest dialogue between cultures?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's actually,
and expound more of that, because I feel that when I meet other cultures, part of what links me to them is when they introduce me to their different foods. And then I feel like at home, like, wow, this tastes like something my grandma used to make. Or what do you think?
I've seen great meals. I've seen great meals conquer arguments here in my restaurant. You know, between two people,
serious?
4 people. Let alone I know it can work on a bigger level.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's proven to do that. You know, I mean, going back as far as I guess documented history. You know, I mean, there's a long history of people coming together to create feasts in order to either wage war or make peace, and I think that holds true, and there's some sort of we still have those sort of instincts to want to do that.
I love that. And do you?
It has to be a good meal, though.
Yeah, it is. for it to win everyone over.
Yeah, otherwise it can divide as well as conquer.
Whether the meal and the drinks.
Yeah.
What nutritional menu tips do you offer to families who come to eat here and they are concerned about health and nutrition, which is a big thing now? And then part B is that, do you categorize foods based on their pH balance state?
No, I don't do any of those things. I think there's probably a natural balance inside of my mouth as far as the pH is concerned. You know, I'm fairly, I think that things that feel right to you when you eat them, and I pay attention to how food feels once I've digested it, how I feel throughout the night. You know, I like feel-good type of food. And I have to think that there's probably a pH factor that comes into that as well. We instinctually have a lot of built-in systems that, you know, tell us that things are right or wrong. So I got to believe in that one. Sorry, just 1 second.
Okay.
And stop talking about it.
No, it's okay. No, it's all right. I think they passed by. But now the final question, because I know you're busy, and I'm just so happy I'm talking to you. How has being a chef, being a painter, coming from an artistic family, a family that is in entertainment, how has that helped you to become a better human being? I mean, if I, from looking at you and talking to you, if I could clone you and send you to all my single girlfriends, you would be the perfect guy. He's a chef, he can cook, you don't have to worry. If you don't feel like cooking, he'll be happy to take it over. You seem like a pleasant personality. You seem open and warm. What has your life in this kind of world and environment, how has it helped you become a better person and a better man?
Well, you know, when I first started in the profession, I was very had a lot of ideas of what I wanted to do. I was an artist, you know, when I first started in the business.
And what kind of artist?
I wasn't really an artist, you know. This really is more of a craft, you know.
So you are an artist. That is an art. It is an art,
but I think when you start to think about things being a craft, it's more settling in some ways, you know. An artist is free to sort of think, this is a little bit more tangible than that.
Yes.
You know, and for me that was a
product that you're servicing.
It was a very good way for me to kind of mature as a chef and look at it in sort of the teaching aspects and looking at it and how I was building something with my hands, and that sort of all sort of melded into the person that I am, you know. It's sort of a very sort of hands-on, very approachable kind of mentality that I have, and it permeates through everything that I do.
And you feel that brings balance to your life. It's a balance. You know how some people can be really good in their personal life, but they're not good at work, or they're really good at work and not good at personal life.
I've also looked at it as sort of the chef has a lot of dynamic. Can be very dynamic. It can be. I'm involved in doing gardens in the school systems here.
Oh wow!
I forage in the hills, you know, here.
Where you went?
I forage for wild food in the hills up here. I raise